pays it now? You know, you have it.
My keys. Just hold up my shirt. I think they're plugged in.
Okay.
If not, then
Is it
Yeah, in the driveway.
So as far as school board people on here, I'm seeing, well, I did see Scott Lynch. There you are, Scott, and Chad. And Paul is not going to be with us today, and neither is Greg. So Scott, are you guys good to go?
I'm good to go.
Yeah, we're good as well, Amy.
I'm fine.
Wilston, Scott, are you, do you
Yep,
guys
we're-
have everybody that you need for us to get started?
Yep, we can get started. Yes.
Hey, I want to see a tape measure, Scott, between you and Heath.
Okay, sorry. I just realized, because I'm a dork, that my volume was off on my computer. So did you guys even hear anything I
Yes.
said?
Yep, we heard everything you said.
I just can't hear you. Okay,
You can hear us now?
I can now. I didn't have my
Alright.
volume.
Yep.
Are we good then?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. All right, we'll go ahead and call our meeting to order. We'll do a roll call. Chad Dance,
Here?
Scott Lynch,
Here.
and I, Amy Landers, am here. We're gonna excuse Greg Calder and Paul Jenkins from today's meeting. They had other obligations that they had to be at. We want to welcome our student councils from Bonneville Online High School and also Technical Careers High School, and also their student council advisors. So we're glad that you guys are going to be with us for our meeting today. Looking ahead at our agenda here, we need a motion to approve the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda.
I moved.
Okay.
I second.
Been moved by Mr. Dance, seconded by Mr. Lynch. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. So we're going to go ahead, Mr. Oswald, we're going to turn the time over to you and also your student council advisor to introduce your student council.
Okay. We're doing it right now. I've got Mark Richardson. He said he can't hook up.
Why don't we go ahead and have Corey step in? Corey looks like he's more than willing to step in, and then that'll give TCHS
Yep.
some time.
We'll have, you have some time to fix it now, Mark.
Okay, so if that's okay with everybody, we'll just go ahead and we'll skip to Bonneville Online's with Mr. Telford.
Thanks, Chairwoman Landers. This is exciting to have our student council present to the school board today, and joining from all over the place, from Island Park to Idaho Falls. Why not? So we're excited to have Mackenzie McCord here with us. She's one of our student council vice president, correct, Mackenzie?
Yes, sir.
And Mrs. Angel with us, who's our student council advisor. So I'll turn the time over to Mrs. Angel and Mackenzie, and we're excited to have them present.
We can't hear you, Mrs. Angel.
Terry, you're on mute.
No,
Nope,
we
I
can't. We can't hear you.
All right, Mackenzie, you got the comm, evidently.
Oh, that's not nerve-wracking whatsoever. All right, so I have to open it up so I can see the slide. So give me a brief moment.
Dr. Wilson Hume, can I present?
Oh,
Can I share
I've
my
got
screen?
it.
Can you share?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just talking, just to clarify, we're just talking about like what we did this year, right?
Yep, the PowerPoint. So,
Okay. So with how we were with online, we obviously had our challenges because all the students were in different places at one time. And then we had very few students coming into the building. And so we had the challenges of when we did activities of how to get everybody there and get them involved, which we came up with, oh, hey, that's cool. Which we came up with sending out individual emails to the students and then creating our social media because these days are always on their phone. Who knew? But so we would put them on like the Instagram stories. I personally wanted to do a Snapchat story because a lot of kids are on Snapchat. A lot of kids are looking at that. I personally look at it all the time. So I thought that'd be fun, but we just decided to stick with the Instagram stories and sending out the personal emails and text messages, which definitely helped because we did a Halloween party, which was a lot of fun. If I could, there's pictures of it, but that one was a lot of fun. We had a lot of students come in for that one, which we did a cupcake eating contest and a costume party, which was, I thought, out of my opinion, I thought that one was the best. We had a lot of students come for that, and we did, what else did we do? We went to the elementary schools and did reading for them, which also, and I think that one tied with Hope Squad. So it was really cool to go around and have fun with the students in the younger grades at us and help kind of become an example to them and what it can be like for high school. Because like at a young age, you're told that, oh, high school is no fun. High school is going to be boring. It's going to be a lot of trouble. But then I think personally being able to see that you actually can accomplish something and give yourself something to drive for as student council and becoming a part of Hope Squad, it definitely gives something excited to go for. And then we also did fun activities like cookie decorating for Christmas. I can't remember if we put up a Christmas tree for that, but we were also trying to help and service with other people for the people who couldn't afford Christmas for their kids or for their own families or other families. So we participated with Thunder Ridge to help them, and we got whatever we could and participated with them. And then we also did a Valentine's Day breakfast. We invited all their students to come with that as well. And we did pancakes and we did a breakfast. I like pancakes. That one was my favorite. And then for Hope Week, we did posters around the campus. And I personally set up the photo booth, which we got a lot of hype for that one. That one had a lot of pictures, had a lot of fun. I liked it the most. Although I was sick that day, I couldn't enjoy it. But seeing all the other pictures from the kids was definitely fun. And we've also, as a student council and Hope Squad, have helped the graduates decide what to do with their graduation. We've decided to go to the Teton View up in Rexburg for graduation. And we put, Miss Barrett and Mrs. Angel and some other students and people from student council helped put together a video for the graduates that I think we're going to show on the big screen as far as I know. And we've definitely had a lot of fun this year.
So Terry, can you hear us? You've been able to hear us. Are you still muted? Yeah. Okay. Well, Mackenzie, we want to thank you for coming and sharing what you guys have done. I know it's always fun just to hear what our kids have been up to, and it's always different with the online school because you guys are just online anyway. So it's hard to create that sense of unity and I don't know, just like a team, I guess, like a school team that,
Oh, yeah.
because you guys are never really all together.
Mm-mm. It was really hard to implement like the friendships and the bonds. Definitely.
How many years have you've been doing online
This was actually my first year being online.
full time?
Hmm.
Wow. And did you like it?
I loved it. I definitely did better this year than I have
Well,
before.
that's great. So are you one of our graduates? Are you graduating this year?
Yes, ma'am.
And what are your plans?
I plan to go to CEI and be a part of their vet tech program, so I can try and be a vet later on in life.
That's pretty cool.
Thank
It's
you.
pretty ambitious. I know vet school is pretty long too, and
It's
it's
pretty
pretty hard.
enduring.
So yeah, that's awesome. Did our other school board members, Scott and Chad, did you guys have questions, or any of our administrative staff have questions or comments?
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I could, I got a couple of questions for Mackenzie, if I could ask. I'm always intrigued about the online program, and Mackenzie, I just want to take my hat off to you and you guys. You've done a great job this year. And while we've got the board here and our administration, is there anything that we can do to make that program better in your eyes? And if so, what can we do?
I personally am not sure. It's just a matter of fact of trying to get kids willing to come in and have fun. I think if we did bigger events, as in going outside or doing something out in a park and like actually, I don't know, being in an open place other than being at the school, I think it'd be a little bit easier. But other than that, I think it's just trying to get with kids intrigued into going into the activities.
No, that's good. And what kind of activities were most successful that you guys did? So when you talk about big stuff, what would you suggest, or what activities were your most successful?
I think one of our most successful activities was the Halloween party. I think that one had a lot of fun because we got the staff to dress up and help with it, and we had decorations going all around the school itself. It was a lot of fun. And then I think the second most successful one was probably the Hope Week, because that one went throughout the entire week. So we had a lot more coverage on that one.
That's awesome. And it's good if you guys to get involved and help out that Hope Squad and do all that stuff. So if you had a message to all your online students, I've asked all the student councils this. I mean, considering all the things we've gone through this year with the virus and COVID-19, what message or inspired message would you want to tell all the people, all the students that you represent at Bonneville Online this year?
I think personally, although being at home, it's really easy to just put off your work and be like, oh my gosh, I can do this tomorrow. It's just a lot easier to get it done when you can, and just push through your procrastination and the Netflix and the phones and just get it done.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I appreciate everything you've done, and congratulations on a great year. And I know you're going to be successful. You guys have been great leaders. All our student council members have been great leaders, and I'm excited you'll do great things. So I just want to tell you that we appreciate you and all your efforts, and great job this year.
Thank you.
Mackenzie, thanks for your report, and good luck to you in the future and all your classmates.
If the virus keeps going the way it's going, we're going to need it.
Yes, you will.
Well, and we appreciate Mrs. Angel too for helping and encouraging these kids and helping with all their activities and helping them plan it, and just for all the time that you spend with them. So thank you, and thanks for being here today, even though we couldn't hear you. We can't hear you. But I can kind of lip read, and we know that no, I'm not going to do that. But we know that you love these kids. So thank you for everything that you've done. So, okay. Mr. Telford, did you have anything to add to any of that, or?
No, they've been an awesome group. They've worked really well with kids, and we're able to get some kids to involve in activities that aren't typically involved. So they've done a great job this year. So just appreciate them, appreciate Mrs. Angel, and appreciate the board.
Well, we
Taking the
appreciate
opportunity.
you, especially with all the crazy going on. You've really had your hands full, and
That's all good.
now you're taking on all the elementary school stuff as well. So thank you for everything, Corey.
You bet, no problem. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Mackenzie. You're welcome to stay on and watch if you want. You don't have to, but anyway, congratulations on your graduation.
Thank you. It's been fun.
Okay, good luck.
Thanks. Bye, guys.
See you later. All right, we're gonna go ahead and turn the time over to Principal Oswald for Technical Careers Student Council.
Yeah, hi there. Mark says that he might be able to put the presentation on, but you won't be able to see him or hear him. It's Mark's family's had a real setback. Last week his mom fell and broke her neck, Dixie. And they've, between him and his brother and his siblings, have been spending one at a time in the hospital. I don't think Dixie Richardson's going to leave the hospital, but it's a kind of a sad situation, and he was in transition. But I'm proud of him, what he's done for us as an advisor, and he's a real plus at our school to have a government teacher that knows the Constitution and knows so much to be a part of it. I did notice that I've got Wendy Ray's online, Isaac Peterson is online, Caden Mahoney's online, and they can unmute their mics and start presenting. I think I'll turn the time over to Isaac. Isaac, if we don't get the video from Mr. Richardson or the slideshow, you might just want to go through what you guys can remember. I can see your lips moving, but I can't hear you.
I accidentally muted my headset. Whoops.
Okay.
But yeah, so I don't have the video. Like I can't push the slideshow out. I don't know how to do that on here, but we can each pull that up and we can give our presentation off the slideshow if we don't have that.
All right, if you'd please do that.
Okay. Let me get that right quick then. Okay, can everybody see this?
I
Yep.
can.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So we'll just go ahead and start from the beginning here. So we're Technical Careers High School. And so we have Acretia Ferguson here. This is our president. I'm the president of Skills USA for the school, which is our major competitions that we go to for our technical classes, things like that. Caden is our sub-in for Acretia because she wasn't able to attend for today. She's not in town. So Caden will be presenting with us, and he is the auto body representative, I believe. Right, Caden? And then Wendy's our secretary, and then she's the programming representative. Okay, so we have several goals at our school, and so the most of our school is based around focusing on our students and making sure they have all the opportunities that they need to succeed. So we want to make sure we can involve them in activities. We want to make sure that we can give them all the tools and all the skills that they need to be not only successful in school, but to be able to go out into the workforce and take these skills and these trades that we teach them and apply those and be successful. And so we have lots of students that'll get jobs directly out of school in the industry. They won't have to necessarily go to any sort of a college or anything. They don't. And I mean, we encourage that and we give college credit, things like that through our classes, but we have lots of students that are hired directly while in school or right out of school by these different businesses that will come and view our school, and they'll come by and visit and they'll see what our students are doing and they'll, want to hire us from there. So our biggest goals are to make sure that our seniors are certified in various areas. So like with the welding classes, it's one of the things they do is they work on every couple of weeks, they get a certification done. So by the time they graduate, they have this big list of different things that they are certified in that they can show people, and they can say, I can do this, I can do this. These are all the different kinds of welds I've done. And then also we try to make sure they all have different college credits by the end of the year. So we're still working on that, but the majority of our classes actually offer college credit. And so by doing the standard tech class you normally would do, you'll also get credit for it in college for those same kinds of classes. And then we also want to make sure that we can maintain our professional environment. So we try to keep an environment that isn't just your standard school setting. We try to make it as close as possible to the actual workforce. So they are basically getting work experience while at our school and while taking our classes.
Okay, before I start, can people hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Just had to double check on that. To show how proud we are of our school, student council pulled weeds. And man, it was a lot of weeds. I mean, look at the pile behind me. It's bigger than I am.
For Veterans Day, we invited 5 of our veterans to the school, and we had auto building and programs make food plaques the veterans for time served in the military.
Isaac, are you muted?
Yep. So every year we have our different tours that we host at our school, and then we also participate in Cow Day. And Cow Day, for those of you that don't know, is Careers on Wheels. And what we do for that, we set up a bunch of tables behind our school out in the field, and then we have the different technical classes. We'll bring out things to show the middle schoolers when they come by to visit and come, walk around and see. Our programming class will have maybe video games or different programs they created, so you'll get to actually, mess with that. Last year we opened up a computer and they got to all hold different pieces of computers and see how that worked. Welding will have different, fabrication projects they've done, and they'll get to actually handle these and see what we actually do as a school, rather than just, hearing about it or seeing just a list of numbers. You get to actually physically hold projects that we can work on. And then we also encourage tours from students of all ages. We'll have elementary students all the way up to other high schools visiting us. We also have Boy Scout teams or other groups in our community. They'll come by and visit our robotics team, and we'll have different STEM days, things like that. And then we try to encourage and support STEM programs in other schools and things like that as much as possible. We've started several different robotics teams as well from our robotics team. And then we also encourage other schools' faculty to come by and visit, and then they can see what we do as a school and how we run things.
So the Katie Tucker Run, this is a run hosted by people against impaired driving.
Penny Wars was a school event where the 3 classes, sophomores, juniors, and seniors got together and paid to try and raise money for St. Jude, where pennies raised the amount and nickels, dimes, and quarters, and as well as dollar bills decrease the amount, where in the end we raised $500 for St. Jude's. The barbecue and car bash is another school event where student body served and prepared the food while the students smashed a truck that was donated to the school.
Am I muted this time?
You're okay now.
All right, good. All right, so also every year we host Tech Wars, which this year we had, it was actually a huge event. We had tons of people in all of our different competitions, and it did really good. But what this is basically we invite students from other schools as well. So any students that are taking our technical classes that aren't full-time at our school, or other students that just want to see the competition, or students that have some of these skills from other areas, not just from our school, they're all invited to come by, and we have this competition. And the cool thing about Tech Wars, so we use it for Skills USA. So lots of times our winners from Tech Wars are the people that are going to be on our Skills USA teams, those that place. But also we have various prizes that we give to the winners, and then we have judges that come in directly from the industry. So to judge the welding competition, we have welders come in to check out everybody's welds. So we actually have professionals looking at their welds and judging these on a professional level. For our programming competitions, we have professional web designers coming in and looking at things. For our auto body competitions and painting, we have professional painters and professional collision repairers that come in and fix and look at these jobs that they did on these vehicles. Also, we have different scholarships that are given out based on the winners. So some businesses will come to us and say, hey, we have this scholarship we're willing to offer to whoever wins this competition, or things like that. And so we're able to give those to our students. And then we also have lots of businesses that will come in and say, I have this many job openings, and I want to have students from your school come and fill in for us. And so then we have lots of times we'll have students that will actually be given job offers directly from Tech Wars or from other events that we have.
Every December, our TCH staff made chicken, potatoes, and a Swedish peach cobbler in Dutch ovens. It's very mouthwatering. You should definitely come by sometime.
So this year we also had several volunteer students that we put together this team of welders and people that were painting, just anybody that was interested. And they would all come together and they built this motorcycle from scratch and they painted it and they got it to run perfectly.
For our car show, April brings out the amazing work our students put into the cars, showing talent and hard work to make these gorgeous cars shine. We didn't get to show off the cars this year, but we definitely will next year.
Also, every year we have our Skills USA. So Skills USA, here we have a couple pictures of some of our skills teams. So over here is our fabrication team on the right. And then on the left is one of our painters from Auto Body that actually went to a national competition. And so with Skills USA, we have students from each of our different classes. They get together on this team and they will practice. And we have lots of times we'll have students that will come in and work on things almost daily. So we'll have we'll set aside time for them to work on these things. They'll work on these during class time. And this is our big focus of the year, is our Skills USA competitions, or for agriculture, it's FFA, and then it's HOSA for our EMT class. And then we all go down to Boise with our teams and we compete. And this is a statewide competition. So we have teams from all over the state. Any winners get to go to a national competition. And from there, they can be sent to a Worlds if they win in the national competition. And so we've done very well in this every year so far. I believe we didn't participate this year because it's canceled, but this year, the last year, we had, I think, 20 plus students that all placed in total out of the 30 or so that we sent.
Certifications are based in programming basic HTML, CSS, and PHP. Opportunities are endless in programming. 30 certifications were earned this year.
We have an amazing welding program where students learn different forms of welding and go on to compete in state and nationals.
In our agriculture, students have hands-on small farm experience, cows, goats, and chickens. Students grow flowers in greenhouses for Mother's Day.
In our auto collision repair program, so this program is set up to teach students exactly how to repair vehicles, things like that. One of the really cool things about this program is we will have people in the community that they'll get into a car wreck, they'll have a little ding on their car or dents, or they need something repainted. And so they'll bring in their vehicles and we'll fix them for them. And what this does is not only is this community service and it gives us an opportunity to be a benefit to the community, but it also gives us this real world practice on these vehicles. So our students, our higher level, our capstone auto collision students will come in and they'll get to repair these vehicles, and they will actually get to take things apart and figure out how things fit together and actually fix vehicles in real life.
We have an incredible construction program where students learn different forms of woodworking skills and how to construct different structures. And we will have people from the community come and hire our students to go and build different structures such as sheds.
We also have a really good auto tech program. So again, we have these people that'll bring in vehicles, but if they have some sort of an engine problem or anything like that, it's not just the outside of the vehicle is damaged. That's where we give it over to auto tech. And these kids can take apart an engine and rebuild it in a couple of hours. So some of these kids have an extreme amount of experience and they're really good with these vehicles. And so that's their biggest focus, is the interior repair of vehicles. And then also this course is designed to give them college credits as well. So we currently have the Auto Tech program set up to give 6 college credits through ISU through a dual enrollment system, without them having to do any sort of additional AP testing or anything like that. It's all focused on just their skills and their abilities in this industry.
UNT gives students at TCHS the real feel of a first responder. 10 college credits are earned through CSI.
So just in conclusion, just to summarize what we focus on here, it's all about our students. So everything that we do, all of our events that we host are all designed to encourage our students. So we did this last year, another thing we did was DIRT Awards. So any students that did exceptionally well in their classes or that, you know, stood out above the rest of them in our student body were given special awards each, and we do these almost every week. And we would do all sorts of different events to make sure that our students feel included and to make sure that they all understand that our entire focus is to make sure that they have the skills and they have the talents that they need to be able to be successful and excel in these different industries they've chosen to go into. And so we try to strive to be an example for other schools for STEM-based learning. And then we also try to make sure that we can support our community through these different things that our students can do. And again, all of it is focused on what they can do and what they are actually capable of and giving them practice and developing their talents. We thank you for your time. And is there any questions?
I would just like to thank you guys for taking the time to come and tell us about what you guys have been doing. I love hearing about technical careers. You guys do so many different things than our other schools do that it's always super interesting. Just to see the work that you guys do. I think that those plaques that you guys made for the veterans were amazing. Is that really what they look like? The one that you showed on that slide? That's incredible. Those are super cool. But I'm really proud of you kids. Are all of you guys graduating, the ones that have presented today?
Yep.
All of you guys are. Do you guys mind sharing what your plans are?
So I am currently already accepted and enrolled into the cybersecurity program over at CEI. So I'll be starting that this fall.
Wow, that's cool. Go ahead, Wendy. Or, okay, Caden, whoever, whichever one wants to go.
I guess I can. I am going to I forget the abbreviation, but it's a college up in Gooding for the hard of hearing, the blind and hard of hearing this summer.
Oh, wow. That's pretty awesome. Do you know what you're going to study there?
They currently have me going into an internship with a local auto shop. So
that's cool. Go ahead, Wendy.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were still talking. I am gonna continue my EMT and try my very hardest to become a flight nurse with the paramedics.
Wow, that's awesome. And are you doing that here locally?
Let's see. I took the EMT course last year. I took one of the classes I needed this year. I have to take my EMT exam again, but I'll get there eventually. I've been doing internships though with the fire district I want to go be with.
That's pretty awesome. Do our board members or administration have any comments or questions?
Well,
Madam Chair. Oh,
go
ahead, Chad.
Well, I was just want to say how impressed I am with all of the programs and all of the activities that you guys do. That's awesome. Getting so many people involved, and your welding has always been impressive. Your carpentry work and your auto body work is probably the highlights of the school, isn't it, Lyndon?
Yeah, it's really taken off, really doing well.
That's great. And the competitions the kids participate in and what they're winning and earning, that's awesome. How many do you have in your FFA program?
Well, it's deceptive because class-wise, we've probably got about 80 that participate, but our FFA has about 75 active members of that club.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. That's great. That's all I had. Congratulations, you guys, and thanks for your wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
I just want to thank you guys as well. I just echo what Mr. Dance has said already. One of the things that I've noticed everywhere I go, even in other school districts or different parts of the states, usually the questions that come up most is about our technical careers high school, how we have that gym. And it really is a special little piece that we have here at Bonneville School District where we can really put those kids with those type of just smarts to work and allow them to just get going and hit the road running, being ready for careers right after high school. And so it's a special thing that we have here, and you guys have made that special. It's neat to see how this program's grown every single year and how much more popular it's getting, and we hear about it. And so our hats are off to you guys as well for helping build that program and leaving your legacy there and making it what it is right now, and growing that program, making it more popular, because I think it is one of the keys to the future that we need for students and kids. And as you guys have been in this program, and maybe each of you could just respond, what can we do to make it better? Or if there is anything to make it better, what would you suggest?
Well, the only thing I'd suggest is just giving us more students at this point. If we can expand the amount of students we have in our school, then we do a lot better. I mean, really, we've got all the opportunities. We've got the teachers that are great. The only thing we need is just more people to teach.
That's good info. Appreciate that. So any other comments from you guys that you've noticed, what we can make it better?
I think I'm just gonna expand a little bit on what Isaac was saying is, and I agree with him, is if we, because I have friends over at other schools that ask how they can get their siblings or their friends in the program and what programs we offer. And I think, just like Isaac said, if we can get more people in and kind of spread the knowledge that we learn and the skills that we learn, that it will definitely help in our future and making our future better for us and future generations, and kind of help fill those jobs that are still empty, such as like automotive or the construction or jobs like that.
Thanks, Kaden. Appreciate that.
No problem.
Isaac, what are you guys doing for graduation?
That's an excellent question. I'm actually not sure.
Lyndon?
Well, Wendy knows because she helped plan it, but we've got our big trailer in front of my building, and we're building a big platform, decorating it up. And on the 29th at 5 o'clock, our seniors will hear the march, and they will come up and get their diplomas and take a picture and be recognized by all the parents in the parking lot in their cars. It's on radio station 100.1 FM, and it'll be a lot of fun.
That's good to know.
Has the online, how has that been with the technical classes? I mean, you guys can't even be in the buildings, so how has that gone?
Working, well, I'll be honest, we brought in a couple of singletons to get certified because their jobs depended on it. But next year, we're praying that at the very least, we have a hybrid model that we've talked about with all the principals, where we can rotate kids and social distance in our shops, and then maybe rotate kids through the more crowded core classes like English and math and history. That's what we're hoping for.
I know, I'm hoping we don't have to do any of that. I really wish we could just go back to normal.
Me too.
Yeah. Well, you kids are awesome. Thank you for taking the time to be here, and tell your student council advisor, Mr. Oswald, thank you for everything he's done. And
I'll tell Mark.
I hope that he can get through this stuff with his mother and let him know that we feel bad.
Yeah, she should pass any day.
That's too bad.
Yep.
All right. Well, we appreciate you kids. Good luck in your future. And we appreciate everything that you guys have done for your schools. You guys are welcome to stay for the rest of our meeting, or you don't have to waste any more time of your day to sit here and watch all the fun stuff that we get to do. But we appreciate you guys. Thank you.
I was going to tell you, Lyndon, Dixie passed away last night.
That's too bad. She'll be missed, but that's a blessing.
Yeah, let him know our condolences, Lyndon.
I will.
Thanks. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on in our agenda. We're going to turn the time over to Dr. Wilstonham, talking about the soft closure and online learning.
Thanks, Chairman Landers. Our ongoing every week or 2 week topic, but we did do the survey with parents that we talked about last week. I've not done a survey with our staff members yet, and I'll just take a minute and go through some key things we learned from that survey. So first of all, we had great participation with the survey. Sent it out to families, and we have about 7,500 families in the district, and had just over 3,000 responses. That's really a pretty incredibly high response rate to the survey. So I feel like we got some really good information back from our parents on how they're feeling. This first slide that you're looking at is the grade level breakdowns. And so we typically have, as a rough average, about 1,000 students per grade level. And so you can see at each grade level, just about 60% or so participation in the survey, looking at it that way. And then a breakdown by school locations as well. And again, variations there, but keeping in mind that our school populations are different at the schools as well. So yeah, just really solid participation, really pleased with our parents' support in providing this key information back to us. So the first key question that we asked was whether or not people felt safe having their children return to school. This particular slide, I have it broken down by grade level. You won't see a lot of variation between the grade levels, but typically right around a third of our parents said that even if the situation gets worse, then they're comfortable sending their kids back to school. That's the level in blue. And that honestly surprises me a little bit, but that's a pretty strong level of support to say, even if things are worse, we feel like school is the right place for our kids to be to continue their learning. And I really do feel that our teachers stepped up and did the very best they could in these challenging circumstances. But across the board, I think parents learned that it's, being a teacher isn't super easy, and getting your kids to stay engaged and online and learning isn't super easy. And again, I worked from home largely the last 6 weeks and experienced some of those same challenges and even frustrations as a parent myself. And so a few of my kids did really well, and some of my kids have really struggled with it. And I think that's a pretty common experience across the district. And then in green, the next level up, just over 40% of our parents were saying that as long as the situation stays the same, they're comfortable sending their kids back to school. And again, you can see not a lot of variation there among grade levels. And so you put those two numbers together, and we're right around 75% of our families say we want our kids back in school if the situation at least stays at the level that it currently is. Looking at the trend in cases in Idaho over the last 6 weeks, really what we've seen is a very flat line in new cases for about the last 3 to 4 weeks. And so as long as I think we don't see a really significant spike, I feel, again, at least 75% of our parents are fine with sending kids back to school in the fall just as normal. And then if we take it up one step farther, I'd include the yellow group, and the yellow group are families who said that they were fine sending their students back to school as long as the schools are taking additional precautions. And so once we include that number, we're well now up into the 90% of comfort level. So to me, that speaks volumes about where our parents are with this situation and what we need to do. So in my mind, as long as the trend stays relatively flat, And as long as we're looking and taking reasonable precautions, 90% of our families are really pretty solid with having their kids come back into our regular school and resuming school as normal. So the last two options that people had with this were if there's a vaccine available, and it was somewhere in the 5% range of people were indicating that they'd want to see a vaccine before they felt comfortable sending their kids back. And then a really, really small percentage, 1 to 2%, saying really regardless of whether things get better, and even with a vaccine, they're still not comfortable sending their kids back. So again, that gives me a lot of optimism about at least from a parent viewpoint, our parents' willingness and readiness to send kids back. And I think that's probably significantly different than if we would have done this survey 2 months ago when we were contemplating closing school. I think we would have seen at least half the parents saying, we want to keep our kids home, we're scared for our kids. And I think we've all become somewhat acclimated to the virus and our new norms, and are willing to accept a certain level of risk in our everyday life to get things back to normal. So then the question is, for those people that feel we need to take extra precautions, what are those key precautions that as parents they feel like are important for us to consider? The number one selection on that was daily sanitization, which is just common sense and something we would be doing anyway. And so I don't feel like that's any excessive expectation for us as a district. There's not a substantial interference with what typical instruction looks like with doing that. Again, a lot of the things that we were doing and putting in place as they started to break and before the state board shut our schools down. And so we'll continue the protocols we put in place before the school shut down of having our Chromebooks cleaned after every use. We'll have effective spray available and safe spray available. We talked about that last week. That can be used regularly on those Chromebooks without adversely impacting students' health, but will also be effective in minimizing the chances of the virus being a contagion on a Chromebook keyboard. And also we can do that in a pretty cost-effective manner by using a spray and microfiber cloths. Be enlisting the help of teachers and students to just wipe down those common surfaces, and then making sure our custodians are doing those steps as well. So I really feel like that's a very reasonable expectation. The second one down, I think it's important to note, I don't know if I've shared this with the board, but the CDC has issued a really commonsensical diagram for schools. It's basically a decision tree with 3 steps of things to consider before we resume school. And one of their recommendations is the ability for us to check symptoms of students before they enter premises. And so we've started talking about that at the district level on what does that look like. That one's not simple. It might seem fairly simple. I don't know if I've talked about this before. I think I have, but my youngest child goes in for allergy shots, and every time we go into the doctor's office, then we're stopped at the lobby and they check our temperatures. And if you're dealing with a handful of people at a time, that's a pretty easy precaution to put into place. As we think about the number of kids that are getting onto our school buses, the parent drop-off loops at the elementary schools, you're very familiar with already how backed up those are. So to add in another minute or 2 per car to check kids' temperatures, I think would be problematic. So it's not impossible, but that will have a pretty serious implication for things if we decide we need to implement that protocol. So I think our next step on that will be to work closely with Eastern Idaho Public Health and talk about what options are available for us to do that. There's certainly going to be a pretty significant cost in purchasing enough thermometers to make that a seamless process. But even with that, it will create a pretty significant interruption to basically the drop-off for elementary kids and high school students and secondary students coming into those buildings. Social distancing in the classroom and at lunchtime was the third. And again, if we look at the numbers, thinking that we've got just over 3,000 responses and 200 of those responded to this. So I think math-wise, if I'm doing my math right, that's probably around 7% or so were indicating that this was a significant concerns. So again, I think we can try to do what we can to make this practical. And again, this will be another thing we just need to work very closely with Eastern Idaho Public Health to see if it's reasonable for us to not have 6 feet of distance or separation between kids in classrooms or at lunch or on buses. If that 6 feet is a mandatory requirement, now I'm convinced that will necessitate some type of alternative schedule. If we have some flexibility with that 6 feet and we simply can implement it where it's feasible or practical, then I feel like we can resume school on a pretty normal basis. And then getting down a little bit farther down, there are the requiring face mask use. And again, just over 200 people responded to that. And again, I think making face masks available for students and for staff for voluntary use is a really good idea and something we'll implement. Personally, I think face masks will be a pretty significant disruption to typical instruction. I think they mask the effectiveness of somebody speaking. It would certainly be an inhibitor, not a deal breaker, but it would certainly create some extra challenges for students and kids. So I think right now our intent would be, as we create a plan, to put that in as a voluntary option that we could provide to them, but not necessarily make that a requirement. And of course, all of these are things we'll need to talk through with Eastern Idaho Public Health. Then we did put in a question about their support for different schedules. The first one being, so this is basically people had an opportunity to rate each proposed schedule from a rating going from awful at the worst end to great at the other end. So their choices were awful, not good, okay, pretty good, or great. Red is the awful group, and kind of I like using stoplight color coding on these. So green and blue being pretty good and great. So normal schedule, again, a lot of support. The people feel like that's definitely our best option, and just very few people feeling like going back to school is normal. Only 5% indicating they feel like that's an awful option given our circumstances. Continuing online learning is the one that, as is, both that and only going to school 1 day per week were the ones that people disagreed with the most, that there was definitely the least amount of support for. And then, again, I think looking at basically offering an alternative day schedule, people didn't feel great about that, but that was the second highest rated as far as options or alternative schedules for kids. And then basically just running those through the same idea, just taking those schedules and ranking them in order of preference. And again, normal return to school is by far the highest rated. The second choice was alternating days. And then the top choice for the third choice would be going 1 day per week. So again, that's of course exactly the approach we would take. Is our very first preference and what we wanted. We had a number of emails that were concerned that we were thinking about doing anything different than this. I will make it very clear that what we want to do is resume school as normal. As educators, we believe that that's the right place for kids, and we're very excited to get back to school and try to get things back as normal as we possibly can, as quickly as we can. But we also have to face the reality that we may not have that choice, that it could be a public health department, it could be from the federal government, or it could be from the State Board of Education might put restrictions in place that would prevent that. And so we're simply trying to work through and do our due diligence to see what other options we have before we have to go back to this situation of closing all our schools. For me, this is our last resort, and I'd love to find a middle ground if it's not possible for us to simply open up schools and get back to school as normal. And then the last couple of questions, one is just about the most significant challenge with online learning, and this is kind of fascinating to be on the other side of this. Child care and so this is a rating from 1 to 5, with 5 being the biggest challenge. So child care and supervision was just under a 2 on the rating scale. Not knowing how to complete work was just under a 2. So the biggest challenges that people faced were, again, having their kids getting the assigned work done. see, that's not necessarily an atypical challenge for our teachers in the classroom either. And then not feeling like there was enough support from teachers, or them simply not knowing how to complete the work. So to me, it just underscores the fact that teachers play a crucial role in the education of kids, and the very best place for them to fulfill that role is in face-to-face instruction in the classroom. And I'm grateful that we have Bonneville Online Elementary and Bonneville Online High School, so that for those families that have the support and feel like that's the right fit for them, that we can provide that option. But by and large, most families feel like traditional school is the right way for kids to continue their learning. And then we just had a question whether they wanted more information about potentially enrolling in Bonneville Online, either at the high school or the elementary next year. Appreciate people's responses to this. We now have a contact list that we could reach out to these families, and we'll start messaging them about their options if they do choose to continue online next year. And the key for us is we need, if people intend to switch, we need to know that soon. That will create some challenges with staffing at both locations. And so we just need to try to get that done as quickly as we can so that we're staffed appropriately across the district. So really helpful information, I think, for us, and will certainly help us as we start working towards our plan to reopen in the fall. Any questions from any of the board members on that?
I don't know that I have questions, Scott, but I do know, that what you're showing on that survey is exactly what I've been hearing from everybody that I've run into, people that I see in businesses, whether it be, dentists, orthodontists, people cutting hair, eye doctor appointments, every single person that I've been running into, they want their kids back in school. So it's not a surprise to see the survey results show that same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed the same thing, Scott. It's really, really good information. There is a significant number that want more information on online in elementary, looks like. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
probably gonna stick with us for a while.
Yeah, it could. And I had a great conversation with Thomas Kennedy, who'll be the principal at the online elementary next year, and Michelle Yanders, who's leaving and taking over UConn, just about what information do we need to communicate with parents about that, and what's the capacity of Bonneville Online to handle a potential influx. And likely, if that number stays as high as it is right now, if that really is the number that are seriously looking at online, we'll probably have to look at some type of blended approach where we're bringing teachers from our regular schools in to help support that. So, but again, seems like August is a ways away, but we really have to be taking some pretty decisive actions on that in the next couple of weeks to make sure that we're not overloading that school.
And I think when you guys do the survey with the teachers, I mean, I know that the teachers I've spoken with too, they're not loving this online. They would rather be in with the kids and have that hands-on, with the kids, and be able to show them, how to work out examples where they can walk back and forth to their board, go to their desk, see how the kids are doing it, and allow them to interact with the students in their classrooms, with their peers, to go through some of the work. And I just know a lot of the teachers are not loving this. It's been pretty hard, I think, on a lot of them. So I don't think our teacher survey would show much different than what you're showing with the parents.
Yeah, I think it's probably fairly accurate to say that before this, there was probably somewhat of a shared perception among teachers that online teachers had it easy because they're not in face-to-face instruction. They don't have to deal with the same classroom management issues. And I think going through this experience has disabused many of our teachers of that notion. And we actually had a couple of openings at Bonneville Online Elementary, and our candidate pool, I think, was significantly different than it's been in the past because people realized, oh, this isn't quite what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Well, that'd be interesting to see a survey from the teachers when you guys get that.
Yeah, because we really do need to know what teachers could be or would be willing to look at potentially picking up extra kids next year online if we're if, again, we're looking at a potential overload at either the high school or the elementary.
Well, and I think like you said, with the percentage of parents that are concerned and wanted us to take extra precautions, we were doing that prior to the shutdown. I think you're exactly right. We can continue to do that. And like you said, we could provide face masks for those who felt like they needed it or wanted it. And, we can clean things more frequently than we were doing. So, but I do think we could go back to normal and take precautions, and I think we'd be okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Wilson-Hume and Madam Chair, I just got a couple comments. I like the survey. I think it was really well done. It's very accurate, and it really addresses any and all concerns really from our whole district. I think it's interesting. I mean, obviously you're always going to have some people that are scared and, like in the red, that may not want to have their kids go back until this thing's totally resolved. I still support the notion that opening schools is the best option for our kids. But I like this survey because it helps us really try to customize and meet the needs of all the patrons in our district. And I think we've got good tools and good things in place to help pretty much everybody. So those that do have concerns and maybe are skeptical or, not sure about sending their kids back right away, I mean, we definitely can take care of them and have all kind of options out on the table for people. And so, I mean, I just want to kudos for the survey. I think it was really good. I mean, hopefully we can just squash this thing and get back to normal, because I think, normality is the best thing for kids right now, especially in education and just in life. I mean, just, lots of struggles right now with kids not in school and just, getting all the aspects that brings. But it's always good to look, I guess, when fall comes and we're getting back into school, just have to really monitor this thing and keep a plan in place and, make sure these numbers go down and we're good to go. It's interesting being in the restaurant business. There's some practices I don't think we'll ever go back to that we used to do. I think we kind of did a lot of mandatory cleanings and cleaned new things and found new things to make sure we're cleaning. And I think we'll always do those things. So I think there's a part of this that you'll probably never go back to. There's some things you're always going to keep cleaning. There's new things that you've learned that, for us, there's just a lot of things that we'll keep doing, even though this thing might subside. So, I mean, and those are best practices. So anyway, my 2 bits, I didn't want to take a whole lot of time, but kudos for the survey, and it really shows a lot of good information. And anyway, so.
I think to that point, Scott, just quickly, but that's some of the positive we've heard a lot from our principals is that this forcing teachers to use, Google Classroom and online instruction has made them think differently. And I think we'll start to see a lot more of a blended approach from our teachers in regular classroom instruction. I think it really, just forced them into take a big leap of faith forward, and they stepped up and met that challenge and are really thinking differently about their instructional plans next year. So there are certainly some good things coming from it. I agree. I don't think that life as we know it will ever go back to just the way it was.
Dr. Wilson-Hume, on symptom checks, can we simplify that? For example, maybe ask one question: are you feeling ill today? If they say yes, then maybe take them aside and do temperature checks and what have you. Or, I mean, there's got to be a way to simplify that, or I don't know how that's going to be accomplished. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, we'll have some really good discussions with Jerry and James from Eastern Idaho Public Health and see what their thoughts are and how we could practically implement that. Because really, the 2 things I think could be potential deal breakers for us are mandatory social distancing 100% of the time and 100% symptom checks. Those could both be deal breakers if we have to do that.
I mean, we're social people. The kids are very social. You can maybe accomplish that in a classroom by going every other desk type of a situation, but in the hallway and lunchrooms, I don't know.
Yeah,
How
well,
you-
the only way we could go every other desk is if we were on alternating days. We don't,
Days, right?
yeah, so, yep, there's lots to do. So this is certainly a great start, but we've just got a lot of work cut out for us over the next probably month to 6 weeks to have a viable plan in place.
I just hope we don't have to use the viable plan. I hope we can go back to normal. But, all right, is there any other questions or comments? So we're gonna go ahead and have Dr. Wilstenhume and Guy Wainsgard address the board with regards to our finance committee.
Yeah, we mostly just wanted to touch base. Again, I think we're still in something of a holding pattern with that, and I'm not quite sure who's got the ball with it. So I'm not sure if we were waiting for the board to give us any more names. I kind of felt like that's where things were left, but if not, then let us know that and we'll proceed with the names we tentatively talked about. Guy, do you remember anything different from that?
No, I think that's pretty much where it is. John and I have talked a little bit about, potential agenda items and what we're hoping to accomplish through the committee, but it may not be a good idea just to have the board reiterate what their thoughts are on that to make sure we're on the same page.
So Scott and Guy, would it be helpful maybe if you guys gave us a date that you would need names by, and then we'll just make that an assignment from the board? That if we had names that we wanted to turn in, that we could, and you could tell us maybe what the criteria of what you're kind of looking for with those names and how many you'd want.
Yeah. So let's take one step back from that, Amy, and I think Guy brought up a great question, and we may need, all 5 board members for us to thoroughly get that answered, but really thinking about what is the outcome that we want from this committee? What recommendations do we want coming back? And I think in general terms, we were simply looking at the levy rate, making decisions about whether the current levy rate is the right levy rate to maintain, or if we needed to think about potentially lowering it. And as as we know, that levy rate's made up of our supplemental levy, our plant facilities levy, and our bond levies. And how much money do we need to reserve for potential projects in the future? I mean, it's just all that tied together. So I think, so I think there's probably the discussion that needs to be had about the facilities plan. And we did have a facilities committee that, it's been 2 years already. Yeah, 2 years ago, I guess, was when we last had our facilities. That's hard to believe, sorry. I was just distracted thinking about that, but I think that was the year before the change in superintendency. So I don't know if we need to start with the facilities plan or start with a supplemental levy. It's a bit of a chicken and egg situation of, do you start with your budget first and try to fit your facilities into that, or do we look at our facilities needs and determine priorities and then go back and look at the finances? So we probably just need to have time that we sit down and really just talk about that together. And as we look at our meeting schedules, Craig said that, these online meetings work okay, but they really don't work well for some discussions. And it feels like this might be a discussion I'd love to be face-to-face with the board and talk through.
Would you prefer that then in our work session, maybe in June, Scott?
Yeah, I don't think that I don't have a real sense of urgency. This is one of those issues that I think is super important, but not necessarily really urgent at the time. We've got so much more pressing budget matters we have to attend to right now. So I think June would be absolutely fine. Even a retreat topic in July, if we want to, start the discussion in June and fully flesh it out in our retreat, I think that would be fine too.
Yeah, that's actually a really good idea.
Yeah,
Chad,
I agree with that. I agree with that, Scott. And I think that, we've been derailed. So you know, so there's all these other issues that have come up that have taken our time, taken your time. But yeah, I think it's important to relook at that facilities plan, because we've got to kind of have in mind what our needs are moving forward. And
Yeah.
what we're going to have,
Yeah.
you know, so.
We'll have Mary start making a couple of notes about our retreat agenda, but I think this would be a really key item for us, is for us to all to sit down, review our facilities plan, start with a board. That would largely shape, I think, our discussion going forward of, do we feel like we have the right plan, or do we need to reconvene a facilities committee and a finance committee? So I think that's a good path forward. And so in June, I think then we can talk about, I think what we talked about before is trying to get some representation from key, I guess, stakeholders or groups. And I think that would be a good thing to continue to talk about in June as well, Amy. So I think that's probably, unless there's something else you feel like we need right away. We just knew that we wanted to keep that in our forefront of our minds as we're planning things going forward.
So Scott, when you said in June, talking about the key stakeholders, do you actually want that on a work session?
Yeah, we could just keep this item on the work session, and again, just have a broad discussion about, what types of industries in our school district and area do we want to involve in that discussion, in that plan.
Okay, so more just name suggestions that if we come with ideas of what types of businesses or people. Okay.
And I think as far as timelines, the couple dates to keep in mind are the first week of September is when we need to certify to the county what our rate will be for the coming year. And if we're planning to do a supplemental levy election in November, then that information needs to be to the county about the middle of September.
So we'll need to really talk through the supplemental levy rate, emergency levy, those items that are probably at our retreat at the latest.
So Guy, just from a high level, knowing the revenue situation with the state or what it might be, are we okay with we've got enough to make the bond payments for this year, and we're okay as far as our budgeting goes?
Well, that may be a tricky question to answer as far as if we have enough for our budgeting. As we look forward to next year's budget, when we look at our anticipated enrollment growth, I do not believe we will qualify for our full emergency levy. We'll probably, this year we were at $2 million. We'll probably be down a little bit less than 1.5 is what we would qualify for. And what that means for next year's budget in combination with everything that's coming from the state is kind of what I'm trying to put some final touches on. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
that helps, yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't look rosy.
Well, that's kind of what I wondered if.
It's more, it looks more like what you fertilize roses with.
Can somebody remind me when our retreat is? It's in July, but I'm sitting here trying to pull my schedule up really quick. Does anybody know the dates offhand?
It's July 13th and 14th, starting at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Thank you, Mary. That would give us about a month and a half prior to school starting. If we want to reconvene that finance committee, we could meet with them at least 2, maybe 3 times if we needed. If that is the consensus coming out of that July meeting. So I'm good with that. Is everybody else okay? Putting it on the work session and then also on the retreat?
I'm great with that.
Yeah, I'm great with that as well. I'm fine with that. Sounds good.
Okay. All right, so Scott, we'll go ahead and have Mary put those on our agendas for those meetings.
Okay, thank you.
All right, if there's nothing else on that, we can move into the next topic, which was having you talk about the future board meeting locations.
Yeah, so I think it's actually last week as we were meeting and I was thinking about the governor's plan to reopen things in Idaho and the potential of us getting back together and having face-to-face meetings. Number one, that certainly my preference is for us to move back to face-to-face meetings as quickly as everybody feels comfortable, because I do feel like they're much more effective, especially work session types of meetings. Our boardroom is not a great location for that. Just thinking about where the board sits, there's not any opportunity for the board to social distance from each other at the front of that room. It's a pretty small room and very limited opportunity for people to, any type of number of people to come and have appropriate physical distancing. So as I was kind of through a text message with Chairman Landers thinking through that issue, I feel like Thunder Ridge provides an ideal location for our board meetings. We designed that lecture hall with the intent that at some point or in some situations we could hold board meetings there. The other key advantage I see with Thunder Ridge is it provides a great space for us to physically distance outside of that meeting room. So if the board and administration were meeting in that room with a limited number of public participants, we could then use the media center as overflow for public participants and essentially stream the meeting into the media center. If for some reason we had an unusually large crowd and we needed additional space and the cafeteria is just across the hallway, we could use the cafeteria as well. And then if there's something really big, if we really made people excited about something, you've even got the Performing Arts Center that we could put people into. So, and then with that, that would provide people the opportunity to come in again through a controlled basis to speak to the board and public input, and then go back to one of those locations if there wasn't room for them in the lecture hall. So I feel like it provides a really good location, and I feel like our responsibility, if we are not going to stream the meetings available to the public, is we need to provide an opportunity for them to both attend and to participate. I feel like that's the very best location that we can do that. So I've asked Mary to reach out to Cody Jackson and to Doug McLaren to work on a schedule for that. But is there any concern or questions from the board on making that switch? And I guess for me, it just makes sense. And maybe we look at doing that really through the end of the year. And then as we get to our annual meeting in January, we could reconsider. But I think realistically, I don't know that we're going to see any significant changes in physical distancing anytime soon. So
you're thinking just our regular meeting coming up in June would then be over at Thunder Ridge and that lecture hall.
If the board is ready to start meeting back in person, and of course, we'd still make Zoom meetings available for any board member who did not want to participate or didn't feel comfortable coming in person, or we could always go with the old school phone call if we need to do that too.
I personally am okay with that. What are thoughts from the other members?
I'm in agreement with that.
Yeah, I'm good with that as well. Sounds
and
good.
Scott, would you want us to reach out to Greg and Paul?
Well, I think we have a consensus here. So as long as three board members want to do that, again, we'll make it available via Zoom if they don't. But I know based on a brief conversation with Greg following the last board meeting, I'm 100% confident that Greg would be very supportive of that too. So, and Paul, I'm not sure if Paul, I know that he had some concerns before this about he and his wife and their at-risk category. And so we'd certainly make it very feasible for Paul to participate however best fits his needs.
Okay.
But if we are a little uncomfortable, we can still wear masks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gloves, hazmat suits.
Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and plan on that then, Scott, unless those are already taken and we can't get in there for whatever reason, then we can change the
Well,
location, but
I don't try not to exercise authority unduly, but that school is built for school purposes, and so I think we need to make this a priority. And Doug and Cody will be understanding of that. So there may be some situations that could be the case, but I really feel like we're early enough. We should be able to use those rooms.
okay. So I think we have, like you said, Scott, we do have a consensus to go ahead and move forward with that. Just looking at my agenda, Mary said that she talked to John Pym about 2 potential dates for touring Black Canyon Middle School. Is that on everybody's agenda or just mine?
Just yours, Amy.
Okay, so the dates that John Pym suggested were Wednesday, May 27th or Friday, May 29th. If the board members want to pull up their calendars really quick, I'm going to be out of town May 27th, but I'll be back May 29th. Not that you guys have to wait for me. I can go separately, but I can go Friday, May 29th.
I think I'm pretty open with either day, so doesn't really matter to me. I think I'm good either day.
Either day for me is fine.
Okay.
What time would you be interested in going?
Whenever. I'm good with whenever.
I would need to go probably in the afternoon, Mary, after about after 2 o'clock.
Okay.
I think that would work for me better, as I would even, for me, even 4 o'clock, but
Yeah. 4 actually works best. That works better for me as well.
Okay, I'll follow up with John Pym for May 29th at 4 p.m. Does that work for everybody?
Yeah.
Yep, works great.
Okay.
what date did you say, Mary?
It's May 29th.
29th.
Okay, that'll work fine with me.
Okay. So is there any other agenda items? other
Chairman
than-
Landers,
Yeah.
if we could, just a couple of other key things. So that plan works really well for our night meet at Thunder Ridge, works well for our night meetings and for the work sessions in the summer. I do think it's somewhat problematic to hold work sessions, honestly, maybe at any school during this school year, at least this fall. So I think we probably need to spend some time thinking about what our work sessions, where the right location for those would be. Unless you see it differently, but it kind of worries me to put those in the middle of an elementary school or even a high school at this point while kids are in session.
Okay. Well, that can be something that we talk about because we've got all summer, right?
Yeah, we'll have time to change those. So yeah, I think we could potentially look at our PLC building, but again, just need to have some type of plan to accommodate public participation or visitors to that meeting. So.
Right. Okay. We could put that on an upcoming meeting. I think the PLC building's a great idea. Now, if we have something crazy on the agenda, then that obviously is not going to work. But it would only be for the work sessions, correct?
Yeah, just for the work sessions, and those don't, by policy, we don't have public input at work sessions. Yeah. So I really think we'd be okay. I just would want to make sure we've got some plan to accommodate visitors that we could not accommodate in that building. So.
Yeah. Okay. So Scott, what do you want me to do? If you just want to just leave it there for now? I mean, like.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to make the board aware of that, and we'll work on a plan. Probably we'll talk to Rocky Mountain Bonneville administration about potentially using their auditoriums as overflow for visitors, and if that would be problematic with their school schedule. So just we'll have, I guess, as long as the board agrees that we need to do an alternative location for work sessions, we'll come up with a plan for that.
That sounds good.
Sounds good to
Okay.
me.
Go ahead. Scott, did you have something?
No, that sounds great.
Okay, so agenda items, is there any agenda items that you guys would like to see on upcoming meetings? Okay, hearing none, we would need a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, been moved by Mr. Dan, seconded by Mr. Lynch, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, you guys, thank you. This was our last online meeting, hopefully, right? Hopefully.
Thanks, Amy.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, you guys.